Hey guys, it's a beautiful day here in Santa Cruz. We're just down the way from Natural Bridges over there, and we're enjoying this kind of a beach view, the cliffs, nature, and we're looking at the Blix Sol Eclipse. This is sort of the second iteration of the Blix Sol. It comes in 4 different colors. We've got 3 of them here. We got the seafoam green, the slate gray, kind of the blush over here, this pink, and then there would be a blue one as well. This is a great bike for just cruising around, kind of being relaxed, and this is definitely the right setting for the bike. So if we look at this stem here, this one's actually a little bit longer. The stock stem is going to be about 90 millimeters, but it's highly adjustable, 90 degrees. So you can go kind of straight out or straight up. And then this riser, really wide back-swept handlebar, it gives you some vibration dampening. There's no suspension fork on this bike, but that helps it to stay a little bit lighter weight and maybe more affordable. $15.99 for this, which to me that's a great price, especially considering the 48-volt battery pack and the 750-watt motor. I'm going to go through some of those details in a minute, but coming back to comfort, we've got these Velo ergonomic rubber grips. They're not locking, but for kind of a comfort bike, they do a good job. They've got the half twist here for shifting, and the grip matches and everything. If we come down to the tires, these are CST 27.5 by 2.4, so they're actually fairly wide. You can see we've been riding on the dirt around here, and you can see sort of that white spot in the middle. They're very smooth. They don't make a whole lot of noise, but they do have enough traction, almost kind of like a hybrid style where you can go off-road a little bit and not slip around too much. That extra width gives you some stability, some improved traction, and of course, the pneumatic compression, it gives you some comfort. So I'm loving these. A lot of e-bikes are going to the wider tire format, and I'm a big fan of that. They do add some weight and some friction, but it's an e-bike, so you really, for me at least, comfort is a bigger factor. I like that these tires, the pressure rating is like 40 to 65, so you can lower it down if you're a bit lighter and get that comfort. We got the reflective sidewalls, which is great for safety, and they have a puncture protective casing. So if you're near thorns or glass or something, you just have a little bit extra protection. Quick release on the front wheel. This is a steel fork. That adds a bit of vibration dampening, and it's also just a little bit maybe sturdier than aluminum alloy, so you handle the additional weight and strain. I want to point out that they have 13 gauge spokes on the front wheel, 12 on the rear, so a lower number is actually thicker, and they're doing that because this is a very powerful motor from Shengyi. It's a 750 watt nominally rated, so it peaks above 750, and they rate it at 90 newton meters of torque, which is like very high. And so they've actually upgraded the controller on this bike as well to handle additional amps. I mentioned 48 volt battery before. That's a little bit more efficient. It sends electricity with potential for higher power, and also you're losing less of that energy as you go. With a slightly wider or taller wheel, you get the advantages of a lower attack angle, which is improved comfort. You can kind of roll over things instead of falling down into them. Blix has another model called the Vika Plus Flex, and it has 20-inch wheels, but they've gone with the same 2.4-inch wide tire format, and that's a folding bike. It can be a little bit more compact, still very approachable. I mean, this is a very low standover height, but they've really tried to reinforce the frame so you don't have frame flex. You can see that additional tube right there. It's feeling good to me so far, and one of the benefits of having a battery that's sort of low and center on the bike versus a rear rack is that you don't have that crack the whip sort of flexing going on, and you leave room for an optional rear rack and optional integrated light, which is very cool. This bike does not come with a rear light stock. It does come with the Spinninga Ascendo front light, 40 lux. Pretty nice, kind of points where you steer. It's mounted to that fork, and it does a pretty good job. At $15.99, again, this does not come with fenders, although they have color match nice aluminum alloy fenders, and then they have all these other accessories, so that's what we get to check out over here. Look at these things, just beautiful. So if you're willing to spend a little bit more money, maybe you live somewhere where it rains, you do have that option. And then even the support for this rear rack, it's beautiful. It's color matched aluminum alloy rear rack, and there's the light. I think this has 26 little LEDs and then 2 brake light activated LEDs as well, and they go bright whether the lights are enabled or not. And when the light is on, you get the kind of that white stripe is all lit up as red, and then you pull the brakes and the 2 eyes on the side go bright. Might as well boot that up for you. So the bike weighs, I think it's like 54.7 pounds total. It's like 7.2 pounds for the battery pack and maybe 8.6 pounds for the motor. Again, most of that weight is fairly low and centered. This is the display. If we hold the up arrow for a second, get the light icon, and this is what that headlight looks like. Kind of aim it down if we want to towards the road. Pretty bright, a little bit of visibility from the side, but it doesn't have the cutouts. And then this is the rear light. I'm going to try to do the brake light activation. Pretty cool. I'm a big fan of that. I think it's great that they've got this thing pre-wired for the rear light and a lot of easy, quick disconnects on the cables, although most of the cabling is internally routed, at least once you kind of get over this. Yeah, it's a little bit busy up here, but nice wire wrapping and stuff. There's just a lot of cables between the shifter, the brake. These are mechanical brakes. And then we have a disconnect here and another one for the throttle and the button housing over here. So all things considered, it's like they're trying to make this integrated. This is a purpose-built electric bike. It's really refined, and it's designed to handle the additional weight and power of that motor. It's rated up to 270-pound max load, and that rear rack, which is, again, optional, 25 kilogram, 55 pounds, all kinds of cool stuff, like this basket that mounts on top, and you can have it like sideways or lengthwise. They have really cool front racks, which I don't have with me, but they would bolt on right here where this badge is. So that comes off, and you have a rack that's mounted to the frame versus a basket that's going to kind of tip and impact your steering or the fork. I love that it's frame mounted. I got to see that in action on the Blix Vika Plus Flex. So coming back to the Sol Eclipse, I mean, this bike gives you this really relaxed steer tube angle and seat tube angle, and so as you raise the saddle, you get a little bit more, well, I don't know, they're fairly parallel, but I guess I just want to point out that between the lower standover height, the potentially lower saddle, we do have some adjustability, which is nice because this does only come in one frame size. So, you know, the multiple colors and stuff, you could kind of go his and hers or something. There's just not a whole lot of room for reach outside of the stem. So I'm kind of glad they did that. You know, sometimes I would keep an eye on this though. Sometimes, you know, they can kind of come loose over time. They're using a nicer adjustable stem that has a bolt in the bottom as well, so it really clamps on a little bit better. If you ever feel that getting loose, I would adjust it. Nice little rise right here as well. It sort of brings it up, makes it a little bit taller. Nice saddle. It's Blix branded, and it's this faux leather, kind of matches the grips. 27.2 millimeter seat post, and I think it's 350 tall. So yeah, no, it gets the job done. They do sell a Cane Creek Thud Buster option to give you some comfort that way. Suspension seat post. Between that and the handlebars and the tires, the bike does well. For the drivetrain, we have a 48 tooth steel chainring standard with this nice plastic guide, so it actually keeps the chain from bouncing off, and it protects your pant leg or your dress from touching the chain and maybe getting greasy or snagged. 170 millimeter crank arms. I love that they're silver, and these are not the stock pedals. The stock pedals will also be Welgo, but they're the aluminum alloy platform. Even larger than this, they have the nice nubs, so you're really going to get good traction, good stiffness, and they're silver as well. Back here we have Shimano Tourney TZ. This is really an entry-level part, and even the freewheel is kind of entry level. It's 14 to 28 tooth. It's not a huge wide spread, but for kind of a beach cruiser, relaxed bike, trying to keep the price in check, I feel like this works. It does a good job. 7 gears, and the shifting has been pretty smooth and stuff. One thing that I noticed is kind of missing here is we don't have a slap guard. We don't even have like a sticker slap guard. So given how nice the color is on this bike, when you go down to, well, a smaller sprocket or a higher gear, the chain gets closer and closer, and over time it could kind of nick the paint a little bit. I'm not seeing it here though. An interesting thing about the rear, I want to point out these threaded eyelets here for adding that optional rear rack or fender. It's pretty custom, you know, very purpose-built. Here's some more of those mounting points for the rack, for the fenders. The front is just standard 100 millimeter hub spacing with a 9 millimeter axle, quick release gear, so it's going to be a little easier to service the front. You need to have like a wrench or something to take off the back. But I do want to point out, it's kind of neat. You know, we have the shifter cable here, but the motor power cable is actually on this side. So it's tucked in right next to that disc brake rotor and the frame. So it's just a little less busy over here. And if the bike does tip, it just feels like the important power cable that goes to that motor is going to be well protected. And I love that it's silver and, you know, it all kind of matches. These bikes are just so beautiful, and I like that the branding is kind of understated, right? It's not like super loud or anything. So here we go, we got the left side of the bike. Before we get into some of that, I want to kind of highlight and praise them for adding bottle cage bosses right there. Really like it. And they did braze-ons that are sort of raised, so you can still put that seat post really far down without colliding, and that's nice. I mean, even if you don't use this for a cup holder or something, you get some of the handlebar options. It's just nice to have as just a backup. Maybe you have a folding lock or something and keep that down there, because again, the bike doesn't come with a rear rack or fenders or anything, so having that extra mounting point is good. I also like the kickstand positioning. It's far enough back that you're not going to hit that. If you back the bike out of your garage and the pedals, cranks kind of start cycling backwards, you're not going to have pedal lock. It is adjustable length as well, which is nice, and it's not so far back that it sticks way out past the disc brake. So the brakes themselves, 160 millimeter mechanical disc brakes. There's room for improvement on that. You know, coming back to a higher powered motor, it's not a super heavy bike, around 55 pounds, but still you could have a larger rider who's just kind of relaxed and stuff. I want to be able to stop, and mechanical brakes do require a little bit more hand effort. So it's nice that they have these Tektro 4-finger brake levers with the rubberized edge. It's just a little bit softer and it's not as cold, which is nice. Got an integrated bell. We got motor inhibitors, so anytime you pull the brake, it completely cuts power, and it does that optional rear light. So everything except maybe like the rotor size on this is done pretty well. And coming back to another disadvantage of mechanical, you can see the wire right here. If there's condensation or water, it can kind of drip into this housing over time, which just kind of gunks it up, and some dirt or dust or whatever. It's just a little bit of a trade-off, but there's a lot more distance between that right brake lever and the actual caliper back here. So you're usually using more hand effort on the right hand side, and for a petite rider, it's just a little bit, you know, it's just a little bit more work. So I want to point that out. Here is the grip shifter I talked about before. We got the half twist mechanism going on, nice optical gear window so you know which gear you're in, and you don't have these triggers and stuff that can be confusing for people. I feel like this is a pretty good setup, and it works well, especially on a brand new bike. Over time, again, there can be some settling with that wire that goes all the way back here. It is a long bike, so I don't want to be too critical here. I think this is an excellent product for this price point. And Blix offers a 1-year comprehensive warranty, and they also have a program where you can pay like $160 to add another year of coverage. And I think that even includes like some of the parts that can wear on the bikes, or 2 years for $220. I mean, that's neat. I've never really heard that before. It's pretty unique. Down here we have the 12 magnet sealed cadence sensor, and then I think we have sort of an enhanced controller here for additional power, but they have upgraded their battery design, and so you can see how this is flared a little bit and gives that flat surface to really give you a sturdy mounting point. I'm going to take the battery off the bike, and I have the keys for the green one. Before we do, I want to point out there is a manual override on-off switch, which is cool. If you know you're not going to be riding for a while, you can charge the battery on or off the bike. There we go. We just insert the keys on the left side here, twist, there we go. Kind of reach in and pull it up, and if your seat is mounted a little bit high like mine is, you can get it out without having to adjust that. But that is one of the trade-offs. If you're a petite rider and you've got the saddle all the way down, you might have to sort of swivel it, or even, you know, pull it all the way out in order to access the battery. So I think I said before, it's about 7.5 pounds on this thing. 48 volt, 12.8 amp hours. It's actually slightly lower capacity than before, but they've moved to Panasonic cells. A little bit more replaceable, like you can actually replace the housing on this if it gets messed up, because it's not glued to the inside of the battery. So I think they're trying to be a little bit more durable, more modular. And if you look at all the other electronics on the bike with those quick disconnects and the threaded one right there, it's all IP65 rated, designed to be a little bit more reliable. This is a direct consumer bike, so if you purchase it, you might be unboxing, you might be dealing with some of those extra steps. It's just nice to know that if something breaks, it's a little bit cheaper or easier to repair or replace. And then the charger is right over here. This is cute, really nice. Only weighs 1.2 pounds. There's the plug. It's a 2-amp charger, so it's not the fastest thing in the world. It's probably gonna take around 5.5, 6 hours for a full charge, but it's so lightweight and compact, it's easy to just sort of stuff into a bag and bring it along to the beach or wherever. And I love, you know, they have these branded panniers and stuff. Even their rack, it's got like a bungee loop, and it's got pannier hangers on the side, standard gauge tubing, so you can use the Blix stuff or you can use your own. And there's even a YEP compatible child seat window, so you could add a child seat. And with the rack rated at 55 pounds, that's wonderful. They did a good job on that. So time for the fun part. We make sure that the battery pack is switched to on. It's kind of nice to have that switch because you can keep people from tampering with your bike, and especially if you're living in a really hot environment or cold environment, charging your battery and storing it in a cool, dry location is going to help those cells last longer. The cold is going to temporarily stunt your range. The hot is going to limit your number of full charge cycles. It actually degrades the chemistry. And while we're looking at this, there is a little charge level indicator built right on the side, but it's only 4 ticks. It's sort of a rough estimate. If we turn the display on by holding this M button, it comes to life very quickly. It's monochrome, grayscale, but it is backlit, so it's kind of got this blue tone to it when you're in a dark environment. Up here we have energy bar. It looks like there are 10 ticks, but it's actually like 5 steps, and they kind of deplete that way. So like this will disappear, then this, then that, and then that's gonna, you know, 20% steps. I wish that there were 10 or percentage or something more precise so that you know how far you could ride before getting ready to turn back home. I'm kind of estimating 25 to 45 miles on this bike, just because the motor does use power a little bit faster. In the middle we have speed. That's your current speed, how fast you're going. And if we press this M button over here, we cycle to average speed and max speed. And you might notice down here, it also changes the readout. So we go from odometer to trip distance A, trip distance B, which is kind of cool. The last thing is pedal assist level. Again, it starts in level 1, so you are gonna, you know, 12 magnet sensor here, it's pretty responsive. It's gonna start, but it's gonna start slow and a little bit less power. If you wanna raise that up, you just press the up or down arrows. 5 is the highest it goes, and you really feel it. I mean, it's very zippy, and that's gonna get you to 20 miles per hour. We take it down to 0. You can still use the throttle. You still got the lights operating, so it's a pretty nice setup. You can see how far you're going if you want to. And there's one more secret here. There's a little USB charging port on the right-hand side. It's very cool. This is a 5-volt, 1-amp, standard size USB Type A, so you can just plug right in and charge your smartphone or like a speaker or an additional light or something. I think that's great. Nice to have that. And if you want to, let's say you're going, maybe got the bike all loaded up and you're cutting across a park or climbing something technical, you can hold this down arrow and it activates the rear wheel in a slow speed. That's called walk mode. Before I showed you, you hold up and it activates the lights. There we go. And then the last secret is if we hold up and down simultaneously, and we get these settings. So the first one is, do you want to have miles or kilometers? So it's sort of a unit selection right down there. The next one is top speed, kilometers. You can go all the way up to 40, and that doesn't mean it's going to go 40, but it basically unlocks a little faster, kind of turns it into a speed pedelec. Maybe you're in an off-road environment where that's permissible. Actually 40, it looks like 45, okay. And then the lowest is 17, so some people want to ride a little bit slower, and that's fine. Take it down, and maybe you're going to get better range and just feel more comfortable. And then the last thing here is wheel size, so 27.5, that's set correctly. When you're done, just hold the M button, and we're back to the main readout, and the bike is ready to ride. So this is the founder, Pontus. We got Will, we got Keegan over here, and we were talking about the motor earlier, and I just want to hear what you said, because we've got this really wide like hub spacing, and the motor's like super powerful. What, you've opened these, right? What's it like in there? Why did you choose this thing?
Yeah, I mean, when you get more space inside the motor, you can have stronger components in there. You can have more room for larger magnets. You can use better materials, or at least Shengyi is.
Okay, so we're ready to go. I like to take it up to, like, level 2 is actually really comfortable. Picks up pretty quickly. There we go. I noticed this one has kind of a high pitch, like whoa, whoa, whoa. And I don't think the other ones have that as much. It might just be that a disc brake is like kind of rubbing a little bit or something. It's a pretty quiet bike until you get to the higher levels of assist or throttle. Yeah, I'm up to like 16 miles per hour, pretty fast, and I want to be careful on this trail here. But the bike is very capable. I just want to communicate that and really express, because I don't have like a really close hill to demo a hill climb, and I'm a lightweight guy. I weigh like 135 pounds or whatever, and I'm about 5'9", just for reference if you're thinking about this bike. I'm getting pretty good leg extension, and the saddle isn't even raised all the way up. Nice swept back handlebar gives me an upright body position. Feels very comfortable. I'm not having to lean forward. Even with the stem like straight almost, it's doing great. There we go. Maybe we'll do a drag race here and show you that full power. There we go, 20 miles per hour. There's that class 2. Oh yeah. Nice, pretty smooth, effective stopping. I was trying not to slide out or anything. The disc brakes do a good job. Again, I just want to reiterate, that is one of the areas where you're kind of compromising. There are some bikes out there now with hydraulic disc brakes in a similar price range. They tend to cost a little bit more just because that's a fancier part. And a lot of them don't have the fun bell integrated like this and stuff. So there's always something to kind of consider. In terms of frame flex, I was really impressed at how stiff this is, considering that the frame tubing looks kind of slender. You know, this is an elegant bike in some ways, but by positioning that battery weight low and center, you still get a pretty like rigid, comfortable ride. Okay, Pontus, did you get everything? Is it all loaded up? Got the picnic basket.
Got my tennis racket.
I love it. Even your helmet matches.
I don't have my tennis racket.
Oh no, we got the soccer ball. We had fun with this, you guys. So we're just cruising back. It's been a fun day out here. Nice. Yeah, it's cool. I like to use level 2, sometimes 3. Get this like 10 to 12 miles per hour. And then occasionally can boost with the throttle like that. There he goes. Beautiful. What's that color called again?
Sherbert.
Sherbert.
Sorbet?
Sorbetto. Pretty stable and steady with that wider tire format. Will you do the brake light, Pontus? Nice. So with the racks and stuff, you know, it's a little bit, it's kind of tucked in a little bit, but if you're in a car and you've got some space between you and the bike, it works pretty well. I'm a big fan of safety. This helmet I've got on, it's got like a light built into the back. There's a bunch of, rechargeable lights you can put on your backpack these days. Good way to go. Oh, some off-road. Very quiet. I'm gonna take it down to assist level 0, so it's just me pedaling. Shift through the gears a little bit. Still very workable. Howdy. Yeah. This is all just human powered. Very stable. Hey guys. And then just love that you can dive right in with the throttle, catch up with your friends, climb a hill, that sort of thing. It's just so beautiful, huh? Well, guys, I think that's it. That's the Blix Sol Eclipse. For the full written review, head on back to ElectricBikeReview.com. I record all of the specs for these bikes and I measure them by hand just to make sure they're kind of consistent or as accurate as possible. So that includes your standover height, minimum saddle height, like the wheelbase length, all that stuff. I have a comparison tool as well, so you could see last year's iteration, the prior generation, see what's changed, or maybe compare some other sort of cruiser bikes or hybrids. That might be a good fit for you. And there's a forum, so you can hear from other actual Blix owners. Like clearly I'm here with the guys from the company and I get to show you all the colors and stuff, but these bikes are perfect. Like they want to put on a good show. I'm trying to be you know, really objective here with the bikes, but I love you guys. I want to help as much as I can, and the forums are a good place to connect it directly if you want to do that. So I hope you have fun out there and you get a chance to ride somewhere as beautiful as this someday, and we'll see you on the next one.